Hello, we're looking at another review, another pass by Chance. He sent me the polished spline version of the previous pass that we reviewed in the other stream, and now we're gonna look at this one. So let me play this once without the drawings. I just made some drawings. I think a lot of things are working better, but I'm gonna focus only on the COG and the legs right now, and we can move on to the hands in the next pass. And right now, I would consider this as a splining pass where you've moved past blocking and trying to get the timing, spacing, arcs, and all of the body mechanics working. I will talk about what would be involved in a polish pass. But again, at the same time, the main things that I'm looking for here is the flow of the run. Right now, if I see, it feels like he's kind of floating and he's kind of floating in mid-air, and I don't feel the weight and stuff. And this is the reference. So I have a way to fix that. I believe this part is working really great, especially the jump and the timing and the spacing. All of this is working really great. There's one small note over there which I'm gonna go over. And I feel there are some body mechanics elements that can be added as he grabs onto the ledge and onto the wall over here. And the timing needs a bit of an adjustment after he tries to kind of go up. It feels too quick. And I can share a workflow tip on how to kind of manage the keys around this area, and especially this part. And this feels too pose to pose and too quick. Anyway, getting to that, looking at the run right now. So in the run over here in the reference, it's a very short run, like 1 second worth of run. But there is still that up and down, and the main thing that we need to observe over here is the leg position and the COG position, especially when the leg comes into contact. So what happens with the run is, like, the character is moving at such high speed and momentum as the character is walking forward. The legs act as a stepping stone. The legs just are to make sure that he is transferring that momentum in the forward direction as efficiently as possible. So let's say that the character is going at a really, like, at a specific speed, and the leg is just over there providing support so that the character doesn't come down and so that he can just push himself forward. So the leg comes into place as is about to come down. Basically, the leg almost comes into contact and the COG is right behind the leg, but the moment the leg comes into contact, the COG is almost above the leg. So it's just basically like a stepping stone. The leg isn't really helping him cross that leg or move over that leg. It's just basically trying to. I'm thinking of COG as like a heavy ball, and heavy ball is just moving onto the leg. And as it gets down, the leg is pushing the ball up, and it's just moving forward, and just repeating that. So the leg is here, 2 frames, and the leg is just pushing the ball off, and the next contact frame comes and the movement. So I would consider this as the contact pose, the proper contact pose, and then the COG is right under the leg, and it's again the leg is kind of pushing off. So that's what I'm kind of observing over here. And the other important, like, what is the other leg doing when this is happening? So I think I talked about this in the previous review. The leg really curls up from a stretched position. This push position is the one that shows that the energy and the momentum is being transferred. Like, that is what it shows, that there's enough energy that's required to push the entire COG up. So we need to definitely get these straights, and also from that straight the leg completely bends so that it's easier to lift the leg, because it's only the thigh that's moving forward, and you don't have to worry about the friction and everything with the leg. It just locks into this bent position and uses only the thigh thigh muscle to just lift it, and it's much more easier, especially because the leg is kind of moving such long distance. uh, so that's what generally happens. Like there's a straight leg and there's a really bent leg and moving forward. So I would definitely try to get uh, much more bent on this leg as you're moving forward. And I like the straight over here, but as it comes front, I think it needs to be bent more. And this is a high pose, so the character is not really going up in the air. Actually, it's coming down when it's supposed to kind of go up, because it's like the high pose. It's called the high pose. And this is the low pose. This is the low pose. So until here, the character should technically be, it's like a Y curve bouncing ball, where it hang time and then it kind of comes down and then goes up. So right now, your the COG is kind of like this. Uh, so for runs, it may not be this high, but we at least want to see a bit of it down as the character is coming up. And also it will help you pose that really nice up pose, the high pose, with both the legs a bit stretched out more, where the back leg, the behind leg, did not completely curl in, and the front leg is kind of getting ready to plant the feet. So that's the thing. Ideally, if the feet is here, I would consider like the COG could be much more farther in, so as to kind of help, and the behind leg can be much more curled in to make a really good passing position. I feel that's the reason why it's feeling like the character is kind of floating in on, like, or walking on water kind of a thing. Because whenever the contact pose hits, the character is much more behind, and it takes at least like 3 frames to kind of get to that position, rather than when it's supposed to take like 2 frames. So at least like when the contact pose hits, I would suggest like get the COG forward. The momentum should be forward, or you can just move all the legs back, and that should help. And just pay attention to the curl of the legs. So that's basically for the run. And the fingers, I believe you're still working on them. So, and yeah, definitely get those straights. For example, the leg stays bent throughout. This bent doesn't go, so I don't get a feeling that he's actually being pushed off. Again here. So I would suggest that. And the other one is the arc over here with the COG. So that's a too many. Let me reduce that. So right now, this green is your arc right now, with respect to how the COG is going. But I believe you need to get something like the other arc that I drew over here, which shows that the character is at a much more height and gets to put the leg and moves forward and then translates up. For example, so this is the height, and the character is just moving forward, not necessarily moving down, but moving forward. Let's say this is the first pose and the leg is like this, and if the character is just moving forward, it would still create that bend that's required to push him off. So this is a much more bigger bend than this one. So right now what's happening is your leg is like this, and you're just moving upwards. So this is not really getting into a bend, it's just staying the same, like a pendulum that's moving up. So the leg is not I don't see a bend in the leg as much as it needs to have for an anticipation pose. So this is the one that you have, and if we could get like a bend like that, rather than having the same bend. So that's one thing that I observed over there. Other than that, like, the timing and everything works really good of the whole thing, and the turn off. And the foot roll kind of happens over 1 frame. I would oh, so I would have that foot roll kind of come down over 2 frames. Right now the spacing is something like this, 1 frame and then just there, like the foot. This is the foot. It's just happening in 1 frame, the spacing. I think you can have a spacing like something like this, where there's an ease in at the foot as he's pressing the foot there. And the leg kind of again curls up as he's trying to push up, and then as he does the jump, the leg opens up. Observing the reference there, you see how much the leg kind of curls up, and then as he pushes up, the leg also kind of opens up. So that's something that can really add a lot of quality for that. And the hand spacing over here is too sharp. It needs to have a bit of a ease in, ease out, and a quick, and then an ease out. It's too fast right now, and this leg has to be a faster animation. And there's a slight pop at the hand over here, I believe. Yeah, there you go. There's a slight pop. It jumps. And I believe it should be like a hanging thing over here. I would track the arcs for the legs and make sure that it's like a hanging thing. It's like a hanging midair arcing. And I really like this one. I think this you've kind of nailed that. Kind of getting the legs up and getting the core into working and stuff. And this one, there should be like an antic as the legs kind of curl up and do a slam. If you observe, like the legs are curled up and they just spring open onto the wall over there. You see that, like the body's already bent and we just mainly see that the legs are being opened up over there. And if you see that this leg already gets into contact, so that's at least like a 2 to 3 frame offset that's happening there with the legs. Right now it's feels like it's a pendulum movement, so I would kind of get an arc for the legs where the legs kind of go up and then slam. And then over here you're trying to push himself like forward and then lift with the hands, but it's mostly like pushing himself in upward direction like that. And I think the goal is to get this the core of the body, the COG, as close as the roof, so that he can use his hands to kind of make a push up. So if you see that, he's actually using his hands to kind of get up with the support of the roof, sorry, the wall. And then once he's up there, the legs get straight, but he goes into this really nice push-up pace. I think this is a really good key pose to show that the tension of his shoulder blades and arms and legs being straight and all of that. And as he curls onto the roof, so I would really try to get that shape over there. And the timing over here is good. I like that. So I like this time shift as well, but I would just try to get this pose with the pole vectors and stuff. And over here it feels too quick. I believe it's still work in progress. But like right now the head kind of goes in back forth at the same point. And the leg snaps in 1 frame over here. That's a too high of a spacing for the legs over there. And the body actually travels backward here. I believe that's happening, but not this much. Like it would be really tough in terms of like the mechanics in order to kind of get the body backward as much. So I would think the character, the head would definitely come back and curl, but the COG itself would try to still keep moving at least a bit forward. Maybe somewhere until over here, I would say. And the hands position would be the same point and stuff, and kind of get there. we don't really see it, and I definitely get that the body is also kind of moving forward. I think it might be actually fine, but we need to show that he's kind of bouncing off. Like there should be a really nice hang time as the COG kind of goes up into a bouncing ball and then kind of comes back. I think that should be fine because now I'm kind of getting a feeling that the character is still dependent on the hands for support rather than trying to free fall up to the hang time and then try to get down before the and just get the legs before that. So those are my notes. I definitely think this is going in the right direction, and I would polish that for the run here. I would try to concentrate on the ups and downs and try to get those specific leg poses, especially the high pose and the two contact poses at the push off. I believe the legs has to be straight, and I think some of the running poses you have that. And at the first contact pose, the COG should be very close to the front leg, so as to just kind of cruise on that leg and push off, kind of a thing. So the like COG is there and it's just cruising, and then it's just push off. This is the contact pose. Sorry, this is the passing position, which is the lowest position as well. And there is a high pose where it's very, and high pose it should feel like you're freely in the air, and the forward leg, you're trying to get the forward leg up there, and the back leg is just curling in. And over here I think everything's working. I would just get this nice anticipation, and then again this mechanics need some more poses, I would say, and then kind of pushing himself forward. This is a quick review, and hands, I think we already discussed some, like trying to match the reference of like getting a nicer arc, and I think there was a point where the tangent was kind of, and yeah, one more thing that I kind of observed was, especially in this pose, since this leg is forward, you could rotate the COG a bit forward in rotation Y, so that we get a really nice silhouette of the other side of the hip to kind of get a nice arc by rotating the entire hip forward. Just checking if I missed anything. It's basically the leg curls over here and a bit more high over here, so that we get a more leg position, not that high but a bit more high, so that we get the leg position, and the COG can keep moving forward. Yeah, I love the timing and also the spacing and all over here. I think it's just like concentrating on that leg curl in the hang time, anticipation, offsets. So coming to the polish phase, I would say the polish phase would be like making sure that the each silhouette is pretty good, arcing the tips of the feet, the ankle. For the run, that's what the polish phase is, and also try to get a bit of a translation with the chest up and down, polishing. And over here, I would say is that additional 2 frames of ease in, and here kind of giving an offset for the arm, and also the way that the arm is kind of holding that thing. If you observe over here, as he jumps up, yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, how the legs kind of go away from each other and get close to each other. That was really nice, and this kind of breaking the silhouette where we see that ankle, that toe going up, and clearly this leg is swinging back faster than the other leg, that's why it's creating that offset. Also getting the legs away, but again that the legs come closer and the legs get away and get closer again. I think that's a really nice thing that's happening in the reference, which you can definitely add value to that shot. So those things I would say, like, as the legs kind of come, you see how the fingers kind of snap back and have him jump forward, and this also acts like a mini push-up where As the COG comes up, the chest goes down into a mini push up, and then he pushes himself off as the legs come into forward. So right now it just feels like the COG is rotating upward. So we kind of need to have that push off, and as the push off is happening, as the entire upper body is moving forward, it slowly rotates up and gets the feet in. So those are my main notes. So hopefully those are of help, and let me know if you have any questions, and all the very best. This is pretty good progress for the time that you've told me that you've been working on it. Yep, thank you. Thank you for sending me this further review, and yeah, all the best. Looking forward to see the next version. This is a really good body mechanics piece.